What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. And by now, you probably have seen Joe Biden's speech about the soul of America, which, this was one of the toughest speeches that I had to endure. I had to watch it for you guys, just in case you didn't see it, and then also to make a response video about it for those that might be under the delusion, the spell, the gaslighting, the manipulation of this current administration, the Democrats, the fake news, these globalists, or whoever else is responsible for concoctioning such a speech filled with lies, hypocrisy, gaslighting, manipulation, deceit, and just flat out evil. This man lied throughout the whole speech, just tons of hypocrisy. And so I put together this montage to kind of counter it, to show another side, since he obviously has used this tactic to demonize Republicans, to demonize President Trump, to throw out all type of false statements and accusations about conservatives, trying to define our motive, our thoughts, some of the things that we feel, just all over the place. He just threw all kind of stuff out there. And I'm thinking that this montage might just shed light and expose what these Democrats are really up to and how hypocritical they are. So for any of your friends out there that's wondering about the speech and wondering how accurate it is, maybe you can send this video to them as a counter, okay, to all of the lies that we heard last night. It's going to be very tough for me to simply let this play and observe it without making comments, because there's so much stuff that he said that it just burns me up. But I'm going to do my best, y'all. I'm going to sit back and just observe it and enjoy it with you guys. And once again, please send this off to your friends so that they're not under the spell and the delusion of what was said that night. Okay? God bless y'all. God bless America. Let's try to get into this, okay? Because see, this guy that's floating in the dumpster.
I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives.
This guy right here, whose wife had to snatch him and put him on that plane because he was standing there with his hand out, wanting to shake somebody's hand who wasn't there. And you can see the frustration in her body language, like, how did I get this gig? Yeah, that guy is the guy that's about to drop this divisive speech filled with lies and hypocrisy. I hope I can endure it without turning green. Before we get into this video, make sure you hit like, share my videos, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, make sure that your notifications are on and they're set to all. Now, let's get into this. But first, quick commercial break. Fact for you. Florida is reigniting a debate after it just rolled out Don't Tread on Me license plate earlier this month. Drivers in the Sunshine State can now order Don't Tread on Me license plates complete with the yellow and black image of the Gadsden flag from the Revolutionary War. This is a proud moment for patriots across the country. But what about us and the rest of the other 49 states? So listen closely. I'm going to reveal a new way to showcase Don't Tread on Me without a license plate. The new version of the Don't Tread on Me flag is the United We Stand Gold Challenge coin. And all you have to do is carry this United We Stand coin in your pocket, in your gear, or in your vehicle as a reminder, as a responsibility that we have as patriots to defend our country. In addition to being an honorable accessory to your everyday carry, it doubles as a gift-worthy collectible that will last for generations. Thousands of satisfied Americans proudly carry their United We Stand coin everywhere they go. So you should try, review, and inspect the United We Stand coin with your own hands, risk-free for 60 days, simply by going to www.unitedwestandcoin.com or simply clicking on the link down below. And it's free, and all you have to do is just cover shipping. Now, this is time sensitive, so you gotta hurry. After entering details, you'll receive your United We Stand coin at your doorstep in a few short days. Now, let's get to this video. For the sake of time, I sped up some of these clips so we can get through it as fast as possible, and I tried to leave the meat and potatoes in this segment so we can really hear him in context, because I don't want to be accused of, cutting and editing and taking this man out of context. So I hope that YouTube hears all of this when they try to suppress my video and the clips that I've added in to counter this garbage, because if they're going off of untruths and lies and stuff, then they should go ahead and remove his whole speech off the internet. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and go through this together. Oh,
My
hugging his
fellow
wife.
Americans, please, if you have a seat, take it. I speak to you tonight from sacred ground in America, Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is where America made its Declaration of Independence to the world
Yeah.
more than 2 centuries ago, with an idea unique among nations, that in America, we're all created equal. This is where the United States Constitution was written and debated. This is where we set in motion the most extraordinary experiment of self-government the world has ever known. With 3 simple words: we the people. These 2 documents and the ideas they embody, equality and democracy, are the rock upon which this nation is built.
So at least he got through that part without saying, you know the thing. So let's continue, because see, now he's trying to connect with the people concerning some patriotic things to make himself sound as if he believes in the Constitution, the foundation, our democracy, our republic, all of those things. Here we go.
They're how we became the greatest nation on earth. But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats, and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it. But first, we must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic.
Now that is news to me. I had no idea that Donald Trump and his voters represent an extremism that threatens the democracy. And he says too many things are not normal. And I'm just a little curious because I've seen some things that aren't normal take place, and it all comes from the Democrat Party doing things that are totally abnormal. So maybe he can give us some examples of what he's talking about, but surely he won't do that. He's just going to make these claims and hope that nobody catches it. Let's continue hearing this person spew all of this garbage.
Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
So now, what is a Donald Trump MAGA Republican? See, this is what I don't understand, because when you look at the amount of people who voted for Donald Trump, does that make them all Donald Trump MAGA Republicans? What qualifies you to be one? Do you have to walk around with a MAGA hat on? Do you have to walk around talking about Make America Great Again constantly? Or could you have simply been a person that voted for Donald Trump because of his policies? So now what he's doing is he wants to drive any type of person with hesitation or a little concern about maybe the rhetoric surrounding Donald Trump and his MAGA, ultra MAGA Republicans towards the Democrat Party by simply calling them extremists, which he's not defining what that means. He's not defining who a MAGA or ultra MAGA Republican is. Perhaps could he be talking about, we don't want Republicans that vote for real Republicans and not rhinos. We would rather all of you vote for your stereotypical normal Republican like a Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham, or those rhinos who simply play ball and aren't there to get things done and is going to let the Democrats do pretty much whatever they want to do. That's what I think he's talking about. Okay, but let's continue. Maybe I'm wrong.
And that is a threat to this country.
Threat to the country.
These are hard things, but I'm an American president, not a president of red America, blue America.
Sounds like you are, buddy.
And I believe it's my duty to level with you, to tell the truth, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful.
Y'all ready for the truth?
In my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
Well, new investigations reveal military ballots were major targets of Democrat voter fraud in November.
Look at this.
Reports on Thursday note thousands of military ballots were potentially tampered with at polling stations during the general election. This after several witnesses came forward during a hearing in Georgia Wednesday with both photo and video evidence of rampant fraud.
So wait, there's no reason to be concerned? See, I guess all of us who witnessed this and all of this testimony, all of this video footage right here leaves no room to doubt or be concerned about the election. Yeah, I'm a little concerned because I'm hearing that, but yet they downplayed it as if, no, it's nothing. You shouldn't even pay attention to this stuff. You shouldn't even listen to these testimonies. You should keep your mouth quiet and assume that everything went fine, even though all of these things popped up that seemed rather suspicious. What else happened?
Republican poll watchers also claim they got locked out of the counting stations when
is that normal?
Time to look over military ballots, which typically lean red.
I estimated that somewhere between 80 and 90% were going to Joe Biden.
Wow.
Throughout the day, it kept making me sicker and sicker every time I saw another Biden. And then I'm going through batches. 100% of the batches were Biden.
Whoa.
I find that statistically impossible.
Me too.
Despite mountains of evidence of wrongdoing, Georgia state officials still refuse to take action. Meantime, military members have long supported President Trump and his America First policies, with more than 60% of the military vote going to President Trump in 2016.
But there's no reason to be concerned about election integrity, right? We're supposed to just be quiet and accept this unbelievable statistic that all of those votes and ballots just happen to be coming in to Biden. And then you get some people who refuse to even look into it, which only adds to the suspicion, along with the media trying to suppress and make sure they silence anybody who has those concerns. There's nothing to worry about here, guys. Okay, there's only censorship and an aggressive front and an attack to silence any of those who doubt, okay, and to deem them to be some type of radical, some type of extremist, some type of insurrectionist or domestic terrorist because you disagree with the election, or at least you have some concerns. So if we are threatening our democracy, let's see who else might be threatening it too. But before we do that, let's check and see if there's any other reason that we should be a little concerned about that last election.
2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who are deceased by the time of the election.
Ghost?
Voted in person on October 23rd. I was told that there was an absentee ballot already out for me, but I never requested one.
What?
The next day, my mom called the voter center and was told that somebody voted absentee in my name on October 7th.
Nothing to see,
Those
though.
paper ballots were not secure. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican. I hope you'll take what these people are telling you seriously.
Yeah.
It's important. The people's voice matters in this country.
It does,
So
according to
according
Biden.
to the witnesses, the Republican observers, there is a lady who has blonde braids who comes out to announce we're going to stop counting. Everyone go home. And in fact, we see that. What happens is everyone clears out, including the Republican observers and the press, but 4 people stay behind and continue counting and tabulating well into the night.
Well, that's not normal.
Back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table.
Oh, mysterious boxes.
I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table.
4.
So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And
Nothing
why are
to
they
see,
only
though.
counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses, is the question. So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours.
2 hours?
So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present,
No one
consistent
there.
with your statutes and rules, to supervise the tabulation? We believe that could easily be, and probably is certainly, beyond the margin of victory.
But that's supposed to be normal. We're not supposed to question that. We're not supposed to be concerned. And if we are, then I guess we're labeled extremists, right? We're trying to upset democracy. Now, the irony about this is he's trying to accuse patriots, people who love the country, people who pride themselves on loving the country, respecting the Constitution, respecting the Bill of Rights, upholding the law, all of those things. People who pride themselves on that. And yet he's trying to suggest that we, for some reason, because we question all of these discrepancies, and some folks mysteriously showed up on January 6th, which I still have questions about, but hey, I'm not going to talk about that right here on YouTube. But my point is, he is trying to suggest that all of a sudden we now are the lawless. Now all of a sudden we don't respect the Constitution and things of that nature because we question these things. Well, we better go ahead and get some more information. Maybe Mark Dice could give us some statistics that will calm us down and make us feel a little more secure about that last election.
The Nevada GOP has submitted the following evidence to the courts after their audit of the vote, where they found almost 8,000 ballots were cast by voters whose addresses are physically non-existent.
8 grand?
Approximately 15,000 votes to people who are registered at vacant properties or commercial properties, meaning, some random storefronts. Almost 2,500 ballots by people who legally changed their address to another state or country, meaning, of course, they're not legally allowed to vote in
that's not normal.
Approximately 42,000 people who voted twice in the state.
Twice?
Approximately 1,500 voters who were deceased. And almost 20,000 people cast a ballot in Nevada using a non-Nevada mailing address.
And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself.
Now, you hear that man right there with this divisive speech talking about we're empowering people who are election deniers and all of that stuff. Now, we're going to find out some other election deniers in a minute that he forgot to mention. However, based on all of that evidence and information that we just saw, and that's just a smidge. That is just a smidge of it. We're not talking about the video footage of the one lady recording herself and showing us all the boxes underneath that ended up getting arrested. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the 2,000 mules just running around dropping off ballots. We're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about all of the other discrepancies. That's just a smidge. But Joe was trying to say in his speech that, hey, we have a complete illogical response to all of this. Right about now, we're only mad because we didn't win, and we obviously know there was no discrepancies. We're just upset. We can't take a loss. That's what he is suggesting. And so therefore he's fighting to keep any Republican from being elected that might be an election denier. Interesting choice of words that this man is using. Denier. So let's see who he might be referring to.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards.
We are? I didn't know that.
America where there is no right to choose.
No right to choose.
Privacy. No right to contraception. No right to marry who you love.
Now, did anybody mention that? Did the Supreme Court mention that? Did the people decide that? I mean, the Supreme Court said they're not even talking about no contraceptives, marrying whoever you want to love and all of that stuff. These are the lies coming out of these people who are trying to win an election based on falsehoods, based on accusations, based on fear, based on complete fabricated statements and intentions. So now all of a sudden, just because the Supreme Court kicks back the choice about abortion to the states, that must mean that they're going after gay marriage next, they're going after contraceptives next, they're going after interracial marriages, even though one of them are married to a white woman. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we're trying to take us back. We're trying to take us back. If anything, we're trying to take us back to the original Constitution and how it's supposed to operate. But according to Joe, yeah, we're trying to undo and roll back everybody's rights, says the man who said, listen, we've been patient, but our patience is running thin. Now get the shot. Even though many people didn't want it. But hey, you know what I mean? He's trying to make us do things against our will. That's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Interesting. But let's continue.
They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence.
Political violence.
To our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country.
Wow.
They look at the mob that stormed the United States Capitol on January 6th, brutally attacking law enforcement, not as insurrectionists who placed a dagger at the throat of our democracy, but they look at them as patriots, and they see their MAGA failure to stop a peaceful transfer of power.
Now, you're telling me that that's how we view January 6th? No, that's not how we view January 6th. This is what he's saying. See, he's making up all kind of stuff. He's saying we don't believe in the rule of law. We encourage and support the insurrection that really is not the definition of an insurrection. If you look up the definition of an insurrection, that is not what took place. They lied about people coming with weapons and stuff. Donald Trump led them into that Capitol, I guess, literally let him in there. Okay. Even though that never happened. Then he talks about we killed police officers and all of that. That never happened. And he also failed to mention how some mysterious big dude who fell off the FBI most wanted list just disappeared, who was encouraging that insurrection that day. Isn't that ironic that that person fell off the FBI most wanted list and we still don't know what his involvement was to this day? Isn't it ironic that the FBI, in every question asked about were they involved in that day, that lady up there on Capitol Hills was like, I can't answer that. Why can't you? Why can't you answer that? We don't find that suspicious at all. See, now nobody on the right is encouraging folks that acted unlawfully on that day. But we also aren't stupid. We're not going to fall for these narratives and trying to punk us into not using common sense and doing a legitimate investigation to find out what was really behind the dang on J6 insurrection. See, for example, they lied and said that Donald Trump never offered Nancy Pelosi, who was in charge of security, those 10 to 20,000 additional troops. And yet we find out he did, and she turned him down. Now I wonder, why would she do such a thing when there was obviously threats of perhaps an insurrection taking place? She turned that down. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the missing footage of that insurrection that Nancy Pelosi is not turning over. There's so many questions I have. They are not talking about that alleged bomber who planted that bomb mysteriously and disappeared, and now we don't know where he is. We never found him. FBI apparently ain't even looking for that guy. They don't want to talk about all of those very strange looking Antifian kids that was up there at that gate when Ray Epps, that Bigfoot, got that phone call and immediately whispered in that kid's ear, and all of them pushed right past those police officers that gave very little resistance. They're not calling in all those police officers that were waving these folks in to the insurrection. Are they also complicit in the insurrection by telling the folks to go in? They're not talking about violating the constitutional rights of those people who just got sucked in, probably because those cops were saying go in, and then the FBI went and arrested them, and they're still in the jail cell and haven't even received a speedy trial. But Joe's talking about he's there for all Americans and he's holding up the Constitution and the rights of every individual, as it appears that the justice system under him is abusing their power and they're trying to suppress us getting to the bottom of what took place, which I think we'll find who's really at the bottom of it. This swamp creature
after
and
the
many
2020
others.
election, as preparation for the 2022 and 2024 election. They tried everything last time to nullify the votes of 81 million people. This time, they're determined to succeed in thwarting the will of the people. That's why respected conservatives like Federal Circuit Court Judge Michael Ludwig has called Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans, quote, a clear and present danger to our democracy. But while the threat to American democracy is real, I want to say as clearly as we can, we are not powerless in the face of these threats. We are not bystanders in this ongoing attack on democracy. There are far more Americans from every background and belief who reject the extreme MAGA ideology than those that accept it. It's within our power, it's in our hands, yours and mine, to stop the assault on American democracy.
Now, see, here's what I am confused about, because the man is talking about extreme ideology, which is what? Not one of your kids tranced, which is not one of your kids taught about critical race theory, and you're lying and saying, no, it's not about critical race theory. You don't want your kids taught Black history. No, that's not it. We don't want them taught hate towards each other. That's what we don't want. We don't want the power of the parents being taken away to influence their kids' education. We don't want parents not having the right to make sure that their kids under 18 don't go off and get some type of transgender surgery. We just want that right. We just want to reserve that right. When we talk about extremism, it's anything that the Democrats don't want or disagree with, or you oppose their agenda or their policies. That's what they mean when they say extremism. So if you believe that our borders shouldn't be wide open and people just coming across whenever they want to, you're an extremist. If you feel that we as American citizens have the right to free speech and also the right to bear arms and all of those things, you're an extremist. If you feel that there's only two genders, you're an extremist. If you feel that the people should make the decisions in regards to how they live in their state and they should be able to vote on that, you're an extremist. See, all of these things make you an extremist, which ironically happen to be all things a part of the globalist Democrat agenda. It's their policies. Isn't it ironic that anybody that opposes their policies find themselves on the list of an extremist? So to get off that list, I guess you got to just straight up be very complicit or a Democrat voter. So bottom line, anybody who don't vote for the Democrats are extremists. See how it goes, y'all. Don't fall for this. I hope people aren't falling for this. All you have to do is just label people who don't vote for you as an extremist without question, without anybody defining it. Just slap it out there. Therefore, it paints the picture that these people are on the fringe, the far side. They're radical. They're dangerous. Therefore, We can call them whatever, and we pretty much can do whatever we want to them because they're a danger and a threat to our democracy. Now, obviously, this is not a divisive message, is it? This wouldn't be designed to drive people towards voting for the Democrats in November because their policies suck and everything they've done up to this point sucks and put our country in this horrific state. So the last ditch effort is to go ahead and divide the country and demonize folks and hopefully scare some people into voting for the Democrats.
I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those moments
Yeah, we are.
that determine the shape of everything that's to come after.
Yep.
And now America must choose to move forward or to move backwards, to build a future or obsess about the past, to be a nation of hope and unity and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies.
This man is full-blown projecting. We're driven by anger and violence and chaos. Does that even remotely look like conservatives? I mean, we're called conservatives for a reason. We don't sit back and take days off from work to go out and protest, scream up at the sky, bang on walls, flip over cars, burn cars, like we've seen Democrat voters do and the people that they use to intimidate and destroy our society. We don't do those things. We don't spend 4 years straight talking about, you know what, he's not the real president and all that stuff, even though they had no evidence to say that about Trump. Yeah, they did it anyway, and he's not calling them a threat to our democracy. We realize there's some real legitimate questions we have about Creepy Sleepy. In fact, he was the one that said, we put together the most comprehensive voter fraud program ever in this country. Yeah, I'm a little concerned when you say something like that, Creepy Sleepy. So yeah, we're not the ones that's doing that. We're not the ones that's going into cities and tearing up stuff, burning down buildings and all of those things. We're not doing that. But yet this man just got out there and lied. Show me the footage. Give me some statistics, give me some data. Don't just say it and then rely on the media not even questioning you because they can't question you because you don't take questions.
But together we can choose a different path. We can choose a better path forward to the future. A future of possibility, a future to build and dream and hope. And we're on that path moving ahead. I know this nation.
Believe it?
I know you, the American people. I know your courage. I know your hearts. And I know our history. This is a nation that honors our Constitution. We do not reject it. This is a nation that believes in the rule of law. We do not repudiate it. This is a nation that respects free and fair elections. We honor the will of the people. We do not deny it.
You claim that it's wrong to object to the certification of election results. You, along with your allies in the media, attempted to cancel and censor members of this chamber who voiced concerns and objected to certification.
Gotta be Republicans.
Raskin, you'd been in Congress only 3 days when you objected in 2007.
Let's see these MAGA folks rejecting
you did when you got here.
the election
because
results.
10 of the 29
He's a
electoral votes
Democrat.
cast by Florida were cast
It's
by
the guy with
electors
the
not
poodle
lawfully
on top of his
certified.
head, the Jerry
Is the
curl.
objection in writing and
That is
signed not
creepy.
only by the member of the House of Representatives, but also by a senator?
It is in writing, Mr. President.
Benny Hill
Signed
music.
by a senator.
Not as of yet.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
Mr. President, I object to the certificate from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the electoral votes were
No
not...
debate. There's no debate.
And I object to the certificate
Insurrection, all
from
of
the
them.
state of North
Or
Carolina
hypocrites.
based on violations of the
There
Voting
is no
Rights Act
debate.
and
There's no debate in the joint
That's
session.
3 of them, I
I
think.
object because people are horrified.
4. Oh, there you go. They're horrified. That's why she objects.
Title 3 of the United States Code prohibits debate.
I object. Objected to the counting of the electoral votes of the state of Ohio.
I object to the certificate from the state of Alabama. The electors were not lawfully certified.
I object to the 15
Look at
votes
all
of the
these
state of North
insurrectionists.
Carolina because of the massive voter suppression and the closing
Oh,
of
voter suppression.
polling booths.
There's
in
no
early
debate.
voting
There's no
of
debate.
16
There's
to
no
1.
debate.
Massive
The
voter suppression that occurred.
The gentleman will suspend.
I have an objection to the electoral
These
votes.
are radicals.
The objection is in writing, and I
Oh,
don't care
Mad
that
Max.
it is not signed by a member of the Senate. I do not wish to debate. I wish
That was
to
her when
ask,
she was
is there
young
one
and
United
old.
States senator
She's been
who will
doing this for a
join me
long
in
time.
this letter?
So she's
No
definitely
debate.
insurrectionist.
Objection is signed by a member of the House, but not yet by a member of the Senate.
It is over.
Wow.
This is a nation that rejects violence as a political tool. We do not encourage violence. We are still an America that believes in honesty.
We don't
decency,
encourage violence,
and
y'all.
respect for others.
Nah.
Patriotism, liberty, justice for all, hope, possibilities. We are still at our core a democracy. And yet, history tells us The blind loyalty to a single leader and a willingness to engage in political violence is fatal to democracy. For a long time, we told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not. We have to defend it, protect it, stand up for it.
And that is why you want to get rid of guns? Is that why? Huh? We have to defend it, but you want to disarm the people. You want to stifle their freedom of speech. You want to make it to the point where if people disagree with the Democrat Party or the current administration, whoever is in power, they should be labeled as insurrectionists, threat to our democracy. Don't you think that's a little ironic that the government is saying that anybody who disagrees with them is a threat to democracy, but yet you got to defend it. You got to defend it. I thought that right there is the checks and balances. That's our guarantee of freedom, to be able to disagree with the current administration or the people in power. But when you put yourself in a position where you can't be questioned as the group or party that is in power, that to me is the first red flag that you are on your path to tyranny. You're trying to bubble wrap yourself so you can't come under criticism. You can't come under scrutiny. You can't come under any type of investigation. Nobody can even disagree with your policies, or else you might just find yourself on that list of an insurrectionist, a radical, an extremist, or perhaps even a domestic terrorist. Let's go ahead and finish hearing this guy do what he does best, which is lie like a rug.
Each and every one of us. That's why tonight I'm asking our nation to come together, unite behind the single purpose of defending our democracy regardless of your ideology. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put
Heartstrings,
their own
extremists,
pursuit of power
no
above all
policies.
else. Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans. We must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy. The MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. We, the people, will not let anyone or anything tear us apart. Today, there are dangers around us. We
Except for you guys, with this divisive speech, that's tearing us apart.
Talk about violence as an acceptable political tool
What?
in this country. It's not. It can never be an acceptable tool.
This man just said violence is never an acceptable tool. Can you believe that? His whole party tolerated violence over a whole summer, actually over a whole 4 years. In fact, they got out there and said things like, if you see anybody in a restaurant or wherever, get up in their face and tell them you're not welcome. That was his party. His party was out there making excuses for all of that violence. And we're going to find out as we go, because I've inserted some clips that will point out their hypocrisy and this creep and all of his lies and deception as he spews out these lies about conservatives. So it was his party. These were the people who got out there and told all of those folks, you have the right to go out there and do all of that stuff. And then when it was on video, a montage of Democrats were saying mostly peaceful protests. These are mostly peaceful protests. They didn't come out and condemn it. They didn't come out and call it for what it is. They came out and made a new definition for violence, political violence that benefited them. And the new definition was mostly peaceful protests, along with the fake news as well.
So I want to say this plain and simple. There is no place for political violence in America.
Place, y'all.
Period. None. Ever. We saw law enforcement brutally attacked on January the 6th. We've seen election officials, poll workers, many of them volunteers of both parties, subject to intimidation and death threats. Can you believe it? FBI agents just doing their job as directed, facing threats to their own lives from their own fellow citizens. On top of that, there are public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting.
That is not true. I mean, where is it? I'm a conservative. I'm not hearing this. What are you talking about? And, if there are people out there, so what? One person does that and all of a sudden, or a couple people do that, and all of a sudden we're dangerous to democracy. Does that include the person who tried to assassinate a Supreme Court justice because of all the rhetoric and the fear tactics used by the Democrat Party? Does that include the person who tried to kill Steve Scalise because of Bernie Sanders talking about Medicare? Does that include that? Does that include Antifa and Black Lives Matter, in which Antifa, this man denied by calling them, it's just an ideal. It's not even a real thing. And we found out that idea is running around all over the place. In fact, just the other day, that idea shot 2 of their own members, killed one of them. That idea is still wreaking havoc, y'all. I've never seen the idea manifest itself in that manner. But this guy right here is talking about we're encouraging violence and all of that, and it's a threat, and all of these people. He's not giving us real facts, data. He's not giving us incidents. He's not being very specific. He's just throwing it out there because whatever Joe says, then It's not going to be questioned. The people have to be ignorant enough to simply accept it for truth. Just like the other day when he said that several officers were killed by those folks up there on January 6th, which turned out to be a lie. But not one person called him out on it in the fake news. But who is calling him out is this lawyer right here that shows the montage of folks that's encouraging violence.
The House managers spoke about rhetoric, about a constant drumbeat of heated language.
Yeah,
well, as I'm sure everyone watching expected,
let's
we need
go ahead
to
and
show
hear from
you
Donald
some
Trump
of
and
their
all of
own
his
words.
white nationalists.
I just don't even know why there aren't
That's Nancy Pelosi. That's not
there
Trump.
will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You gotta be ready to throw a punch.
These
You have to be ready to throw a
Democrats.
punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
What the? That was creepy.
I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
That's
Take
Mad
that
Max.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I have thought an
Wow.
awful lot about
Where's the
going up to
montage
White
of
House.
all of these conservatives?
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
They do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you,
Mr.
Kavanaugh,
Burns.
you have released the
whirlwind, baby.
and you will pay the price.
Wow.
We're gonna go in
And
there
then
winning.
someone tried to assassinate
This
one
is
of
just
the
a
Supreme
warning
Court
to
justices.
you Trumpers.
What?
Be careful. Walk
careful.
lightly.
That
And for
sounds like a
those
threat.
of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If
What?
you had to be stuck in
Dog
an elevator
whistles?
with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Yeah, but you know.
I promise to fight every single day.
Oh.
I'm a fighter.
You ain't
and
allowed
I'm
to say fight
relentless,
because
but
they
I'm a
said
fighter
Trump
and I'm
was
relentless.
inspiring
A
an
fighter and I'm
insurrection
relentless. I
when
will
he
fight
said
like
fight.
hell.
But the way I see it now is that we pick ourselves up and we fight back. That's what I think it's all about. We stand up and we fight
That's not
back.
Trump.
We do not back down. We do not compromise. Not today. Not
Oh,
tomorrow.
but because I'm dumb and I
not
can't
ever. You
understand
can
the
lie
metaphor
down.
where she's
You
talking
can-
about, I'm
you can
assuming
whimper,
she's
you can
saying
open up a
literally
ball,
go
you can
fight,
decide
just
to
like
move to
this when
Canada,
Trump said
or
that.
you can stand your ground and fight back. And that's what it's about. We
All
do
of these
fight back, but we are going to
insurrections.
fight back. We are not turning this country
Hateful
over
rhetoric.
to what Donald Trump has sold. We are just not. Look, people are upset and they're right to be upset.
No wonder
Now, we can
Antifa's tearing
whimper,
up everything.
We can whine, or we can fight back. Me, I'm here to fight back.
She's encouraging Black Lives Matter and
Because we
Antifa
will
and all of
not
them
forget.
to tear up stuff.
We do not want to forget. We will use that vision to make sure that we fight harder, we fight tougher, and we fight more passionately than ever. We
Encouraging
still have
violence.
a fight on our hands. Fight hard for the changes Americans are demanding. Get in the fight. Winning the fight. Fighting. He's fighting.
We fight.
He is every
We fight.
tool
We fight.
possible
We fight.
to
We fight.
for this change.
Fight. Fight. Fight.
We'll
Fight. Fight.
We'll
Fight. The Democrat dummy
Fighting
show.
hard. Serious about fighting and fight. We gotta get on our front foot and fight back. Problems, we call them out and we fight back. I'm in this fight.
A lot of
I am
hateful
fighting.
rhetoric.
I am fighting. Get in this fight. Get in this fight.
Get in that fight.
Get in this fight. And fighting, we all need to be in the fight. We all need to stay in the
This
fight.
is a common
we stay in this fight.
vocabulary
We fought
word
back.
for a
We fought back.
Pocahontas.
I am not afraid of a fight. I am in this fight
She in that
all the way. You don't get what you don't fight for. Our fight. Our fight.
I'm
We
scared.
are in this fight for our lives.
For my life.
This is the fight of our lives.
Such hateful
But we
rhetoric.
are going to make sure
Another
that this
Democrat.
fight does not end tonight.
This is a fight for our lives, the lives of
Wow.
our friends and
All
family
Democrats.
members and neighbors.
Or should
is
I
a
say hypocrites.
and it is a fight that we're going to work to make sure continues.
Hypocrites.
It's a
Whatever.
fight.
Keep it.
It is a fight. It is a fight, and that's what this fight is for.
Well, I'm wired to fight anyone who isn't doing their job for us.
Wow.
I'm John Tester, and you damn right.
I'm taking
I
it all
approve this
literally. Like they took Trump.
And I'll have lots of fights ahead of us, and I'm ready to stand up and keep fighting. We have to fight. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight. We need to fight, and we need to fight. We're gonna
Fight.
We got a few more fights. We're gonna take the privilege of a few more fights, and we have the biggest fight of all.
Biggest
I will
fight.
never stop fighting. I will fight like hell to fight back against anyone. We need to say loud and clear
that we are ready to fight.
It's a bare knuckles fight.
Now they're going to have to actually fight back against people.
The fight has to be conducted.
It's so important that we need to fight.
Fight that fight.
We have been fighting. I was fighting very hard. Time is of the essence, both in terms of the fight.
I think we should be fighting. Well, I really believe we need to fight, and we're simply not going to take this line down.
How do you explain
We're going to keep fighting. So I'm telling all my colleagues, this is the fight of our life.
Whose side are you on? Who are you fighting
I gotta
for?
go with the overkill so you'll understand the hypocrisy.
We will fight back. We're not going
and
to
that
just take
these
this
people
line
are
down.
playing
I'm just going to
you.
keep the fight up.
What we have to do right now is fight as hard as we can.
We have to rise up
All of them
and fight
talking
back.
about
And so we're going to fight, and we're going to continue to fight.
I am going to be fighting like hell.
Keep fighting, or we kept fighting and we did. So we're going to keep fighting.
Democrat
We have to
privilege.
be fighting
You
every
can use
single day.
inflammatory
We have to
language
fight
like
back.
that
And
get
we have
away
no
with it
choice
when
but to
you're
do
there.
that. I think we're doing the right thing to do that. Fighting.
And I'm fighting.
Well, our job right now is to fight.
It's really important. I'm going to keep fighting.
I'm asking for the support of people across the country to fight back.
And you got to be fierce in fighting. Keep fighting.
Brown have been fighting.
I've told President
Oh, the
Biden I
big
will
nose.
fight like mad.
I'll tell you what, now more than ever, we have to fight like hell.
We have these battles on the floor of the Senate. I'm going to go down and battle, and
It's a
I'm
lot
going
of
to be down there on
fighting,
the floor
guys.
fighting.
A lot of
We
fighting.
Democrats are fighting as hard as we can. Democrats are fighting as hard as we can. Credit it in any way, but we're fighting back.
What we've got to do is fight in Congress, fight in the courts, fight in the streets,
All
fight
over
online,
the place.
fight at the ballot box.
Fight all over
Fighting
the
and
place.
pushing around the clock, fighting, continue to be
Bathroom
brave
Booker.
and be strong and keep fighting. We're getting people engaged in the fight. We're fighting. We've got to keep fighting and keep
Gotta keep
focused.
fighting.
Continue to fight.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fight
We'll also fight him and challenge him in every way that we can.
Every
in the
way that they
Congress,
can.
in the courts, and in the streets.
to continue fighting. We each have an important role to play in fighting. In this fight, like so many before it, it has been a fight. The American people are going to have
Chameleon
to fight. And about the
Kamala
importance
Harris.
of fighting. I will always fight.
Fight.
Fighting.
They're
But we
so
always
violent.
must fight. Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment to fight and to fight, and about the importance of fighting. But we always must fight, to fight, and to fight. As our willingness to fight continued the fight, as Joe Biden says, to fight. It's about fighting of what we're fighting for. We will tell them about
I wonder if
what
Joe's
we
gonna
did
mention this
to
in his
fight. Really
speech.
about a fight. But truly, I do believe that we're in a fight. I believe that we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. So there's a fight in front of us.
Wow.
A fight for all of these things. And so we're prepared to fight for that. We know how to fight. Our ongoing fight of fight. We know how to fight. We like a good fight.
Ooh, they like it.
We were born out of a fight.
Yeah.
This is what is our fight right now.
There's the fight, there's the fight, there's the fight, and then there's the fight
The poodle's
to
back.
defend. Back in the fight.
Our mission is to fight. That is the
Nasty
guiding
fellow.
purpose of House Democrats, fighting. He has never
Fighting.
forgotten who he is fighting for. Marched and fought, and we just have to fight. But this is a fight for our country.
Fighting the health crisis of COVID.
I led the fight and continue to fight. Never.
Listen to this hateful rhetoric he's spreading.
I'm a citizen fighting for it. It means not only fighting a leader who fought for progressive change, as a lawyer who fought for people his whole life, as well as other fights.
Y'all
I'm
ain't
proud
allowed to use that
have
word.
Tim in this fight with me. And above all, it's time for America to get back up and once again fight.
We will fight.
Let me guess.
When we
More
must
fighting?
fight.
What kind of America are we fighting for? We've been fighting, so we need to fight, but we also need to fight for an America.
I am going to wake up
Crooked?
every day and fight hard. I have been fighting. We're going to fight. We are going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. And I will fight.
We're in the fight of our lives right now.
We fight like hell.
To fight.
To fight.
Fight against the Trump
Little
administration.
bit of hypocrisy. That's all
Democrats are
this is.
standing up to
That's all
fight.
it
We're
is.
in this fight in a serious way.
It's your fight.
We're eager to take on this fight. Get in this fight, and we'll fight it out. I have taken on the fight.
As representatives for the people,
Wow.
as legislators here
They've
in the
left
halls of
cookie
Congress,
crumbs all
our
over the
job is to
internet.
fight.
Who has led us
Receipts
in this fight.
of
To fight
hypocrisy.
for this fight.
And every day I'm in the United States.
Look at that big
Senate,
nose.
I will fight.
And one of the things we do is should fight.
And because my constituents send me here each and every day.
Look at that
To fight.
bubblehead.
We have been fighting this fight, and we need to be side by side so we
Gavin
can
and
succeed. And so I hope that you will all join us in our fight. And if we fight, and as the next governor of Georgia, I will never stop fighting.
Did she
We
win?
can show the old guard something new, and we can fight.
Or did she deny the election
To fight an
results?
administration requiring us to fight, and fight we will. Their fight, and their fight, and their fight. The fight is a fight, and so when we fight the fight that we are
Too many
in,
fights to count, y'all.
when we are fighting this fight, we fight this fight. The strength of who we are is we will fight. And we will fight, we will fight the fight, we will fight. We are in a fight. The fight.
Now, if I was a Democrat voter, I'd be mad.
And it is a fight
Hearing all of this.
born out of patriotism.
Yeah, might
This
be
is a fight
inspired to
fighting.
violence.
I say fight on, fight on, fight on, fight on.
I'm here to say one more time in publicly, this is not a fight I wanted to take on, but this is the fight in front of us now.
Every single one of you and every one of you. That's okay. You didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It's a word people use. But please stop the hypocrisy.
Thank you. Stop the hypocrisy. That's all we're saying. Joe Biden, as you give this divisive speech and talk about this rhetoric and fighting for the soul of the country. And we just watched a montage of all of these Democrats. We saw all of that. We saw them using the same language that they said that Donald Trump used to inspire an insurrection. And it's violent. And it, of course, results in all of his voters being dumb enough to believe that when he said, go over there and fight and let your voice be peacefully heard, all of his voters couldn't interpret that properly. We thought he meant physically. Yeah. So if that is what they're using, then every single Democrat voter who listened to that montage should be saying to themselves, oh, I'm about to go over and start scrapping. But there's more hypocrisy. Let's finish listening to this very divisive speech from Joe Biden.
This is inflammatory. It's dangerous.
Inflammatory,
it's against the rule
dangerous.
of law. And we, the people, must say, this is not who we are.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American.
Can't be.
Incompatible. We can't allow violence to be normalized.
Can't allow violence to be normalized.
Wrong.
For months now, the media Democrat leaders have been denying what we see with our own eyes.
What do you mean,
our country's under attack. They use phrases like mostly peaceful or
heard
sporadic
that.
violence to downplay this chaotic and even orchestrated violence. And when you counter such opinions with facts about crime, they laugh like clowns.
Let's hear it.
Democratic cities are in chaos right now. Is this what you want from Joe Biden? And they're going to take your country away, and they're taking down the statues. And
They're mocking our concerns that we had over all the violence that they never addressed.
Too many see the protests as the problem.
Oh.
No, the problem is what forced your fellow citizens to take to the streets. Persistent and poisonous inequities and injustice. And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful. People who show up to fight against bigots are not to be judged the same as the bigots, even if they do resort to the same kinds of petty violence.
Now that the violence is out of control and taking lives, however, the mockers changed their tune. But it wasn't your suffering that changed their minds. It was the polls.
For Democrats, I think Democrats are ignoring this problem or hoping that it will
go away. The Democrats were ignoring it? What? We just heard Joe say you should never ignore violence.
Maybe he won't. Maybe he is. He's got to address it. The rioting has to stop. Chris, as you know and I know, it's showing up in the polling. It's showing up in focus groups. It is the only thing right now that is sticking.
This is on their watch.
It is on their watch.
Mr. Vice President, if you don't believe that your faith demands that you speak about what's happening in Kenosha right now, not in terms of showing riots and fomenting tension when it's a symptom of a problem.
They have to talk about these vigilantes, and they have to talk about these groups who go in and start this violence. White guys coming in from these groups, starting unrest, promoting violence.
As I slept, looted on earth, he was murdered by people who didn't know.
Wow.
And just didn't care.
David Dorn, killed. Biden never even mentions his
anything
name.
to help them.
Police officer. Black too.
Violence and destruction are not legitimate forms of protest.
Oh, there's Rand Paul. Political violence. Look at all them Antifians and stuff that just randomly found him and seemed to be trying to attack him. No condemnation. Nobody from the Democrat Party came out, Joe Biden and his whole crew all sat back and watched this take place, made excuses for it, and called it, acceptable, peaceful protest. Isn't that ironic? But yet we just heard this man over here talk about violence is never an acceptable way of politics and stuff. Do you now see the hypocrisy? Well, we saw it. If you're a common sense person, you ain't even got to be a Republican. You just got to have a little common sense. You see it. You know that this whole speech that this guy gave last night was hypocritical and garbage and divisive. Hopefully you see it. If you don't, continue watching the video because I'm breaking down the speech. Okay, let's continue.
We each have to reject political violence with all the moral clarity and conviction this nation can muster. Now, we can't let the integrity of our elections be undermined. For that,
we can't let the integrity of our elections be undermined.
Look, I know politics can be fierce and mean and nasty in America. I get it. I believe in the give and take of politics, in disagreement and debate and dissent. But democracy endures only if we, the people, respect the guardrails of the republic. Only if we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if we, the people, see politics not as total war, but mediation of our differences. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where the MAGA Republicans are today.
That's where we at.
They don't understand what every patriotic American knows. You can't love your country only when you win. It's funny fundamental. American democracy only works if we choose to respect the rule of law and the institutions that were set up in
the institutions that were set up. So I'm sure that he's not going to leave any evidence of the Democrats doing everything that he just accused us of doing. See, the last I checked, we don't have a laundry list, a long montage of us rejecting the results of elections. See, that's a Democrat thing. That doesn't just, apply to Trump either. See, they rejected that one, but this goes way back. Every single election that they lose, it's always we lost because y'all cheated. Or there was suppression of the vote, something stupid like that. But apparently we're not allowed to have any concerns one time when there was overwhelming evidence and reason to be a little suspicious. And now Joe Biden's talking about upholding the rule of law, our institutions, our Constitution. So let's go ahead and get somebody to weigh in on who appears to be violating all of the norms and the rule of law and the things that we all say, well, this is normal, but now these type of behaviors are abnormal. Therefore, it could be contributed to someone or a group of people who are the real insurrectionists or who are perhaps the real radicals or perhaps the people who are trying to protect their power and secure it forever.
Nobody on the right said, let's junk the 233-year-old Electoral College, the 180-year-old filibuster, the 150-year-old 9-person Supreme Court. Nobody said, let's bring in 2 more states and end the idea for 60 years of a 50-state union.
Yeah.
And then when you look what they've actually done, they failed at that. But nobody in the Republican Party ever tore up the State of the Union address on national TV like Nancy Pelosi. No Speaker of the House, not Newt Gingrich, not anybody else, Paul Ryan. They never said, you can't, to the minority party, you can't have these people on committees. Nobody ever goes outside the homes of Justice Kagan, thank God, or Justice Sotomayor. There's not right-wing assassins that show up out there. And when you look at the literature that's coming out, if you look at the New Republic or The Nation, these left-wing venues, all you hear is blue exit. And it's time for succession, and we can't live with each other. And the other thing is they never show any data. It's easy to say Trump is a fascist, or Trump did this, or these people are revolutionaries, or they want a civil war. But did Donald Trump ever try to weaponize the IRS in Lois Lerner fashion? Did he take the FBI and use it to go after Joe Biden's residence when he was president? Did they go into the DOJ and have this collusion hoax? Did any of these people who worked for Trump lie 4 times to a federal investigator like the FBI Director Andrew McCabe? So they are the revolutionaries and they project it on to others. And
wow. So what is Joe talking about in this divisive speech? Why isn't he addressing all of the evidence that appears to be pointing towards them doing what they're accusing us of doing? Could it be he's taking advantage of a simple-minded, unfortunately ignorant group of American citizens who don't realize the game that's being played and the last-ditch effort to try to win back the House and the Senate and not have to discuss their raggedy record?
Only if we respect our legitimate political differences.
Oh, we got to respect those political differences.
I will not, the will of the American people, be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
Yeah, can't take
You said that raising the issue of election security and casting doubt on the propriety of our elections was dangerous.
Yes, dangerous.
And somehow, when Democratic candidates publicly decry an election as stolen or illegitimate, it's never a big lie.
But can you imagine telling your supporters that the only way you could possibly lose is if an American election was rigged and stolen from you? And ask yourself whether you've ever seen anyone at any level of government make the same claim about their own election.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly, it's clear.
You can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you. He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
Votes remain to be counted. There are voices that were waiting to be heard.
And I will not concede.
And I respect where you're coming from, and I respect the issues that you're raising. You're not answering the question. Do you think it was... You're not using the word legitimate.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections and of ensuring the principle of one person, one vote.
I agree with tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
But constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and now functioning electronic machines, which may not have paper receipts,
have led to additional loss of confidence by the public.
Maybe Creepy didn't
This
see
is
this
their
montage.
only opportunity to have this debate while the country is listening. And it is appropriate to do so.
I will not stand by and watch the most fundamental freedom in this country, the freedom to vote.
Yeah.
And have your vote counted and be taken from you and the American people.
Taking y'all.
Look, as your president, I will defend our democracy with every fiber of my being, and I'm asking every American to join me.
To vote for me and keep me in power.
I know the last few years have been tough, but today, COVID no longer controls our lives. More Americans are working than ever. Businesses are growing. Our schools are open. Millions of
Just because
Americans
he
have been
says it
lifted
is?
out of poverty.
No real
Millions of
proof?
veterans once exposed to toxic burn pits will now get what they deserve for their families and their compensation. American manufacturers come alive across the heartland, and the future will be made in America, no matter what the white supremacists and the extremists say.
Can you believe that? That man out of nowhere. No matter what the white supremacists and extremists say, what is he talking about? Do he realize that our country is not half white supremacists and extremists? This man right here is throwing out such divisive rhetoric. It's unbelievable to me. He's not defining what an extremist is. He's not even defining what a white nationalist is or a white supremacist is. A white supremacist, according to the Democrats, is any white person that doesn't vote Democrat. That's what it comes down to. So if you love the country, you're patriotic, you vote for conservatives, or you vote for Trump, or you question Democrat power or their policies or their choices or their behavior, then of course you land up in the category of a white supremacist. It's a definition to demonize people for all occasions. That's what these folks are doing. And he's trying this garbage. And I hope that Americans don't fall for this just mind trick, because that's what it is. Let me go ahead and throw out these just wild, arbitrary statements and accusations and definitions and not really be definitive, not give you no breakdown of what that means when we say that. We're just going to say they're extremists and let you figure it out. Whatever you imagine in your head or whatever thought we drop in there. Yeah, they're angry, they're mad, they're vicious, they're violent, they're inspiring an insurrection. And you just fill in the blanks, even though we won't provide any evidence of that. We're just going to say it and hope your brain is open to our gaslighting, but not mine. And that's why I'm breaking down his speech so that we can get to the bottom of what was true and what is lies, what is him being honest, and what's hypocritical, which is 100% everything he said.
I made a bet on you, the American people, and that bet is paying off, proving that from darkness, the darkness of Charlottesville, of COVID, of gun violence, of insurrection, we can see the light. I give you my word, Biden, I've never been more optimistic about America's future.
Really?
Guarantee, I promise. I've never broken my word. Anyone making less than $400,000 will not see one single penny in their tax raise.
President Biden breaking his promise not to raise taxes on the middle class.
Senate Democrats look to fast-track a bill that multiple now nonpartisan experts say would raise taxes on nearly all Americans.
Give you my word as a Biden, no one making less than $400,000 a year will see a penny in their taxes raised.
The average tax rate for nearly every income bracket would increase.
I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000.
Taxes will rise by $16.7 billion in 2023 on Americans earning less than $200,000 a year.
No one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay a single penny more in federal tax.
Joe Biden's drawn the line at $400,000 a year. The committee does say it would raise taxes on people below that line.
Think big. We're going to make the 21st century another American century because the world needs us to. That's where we need to focus our energy. Not in the past, not on divisive culture wars, not on the politics of grievance, but on the future we can build together. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail. They believe America, not like I believe about America. I ran for president because I believe we're in a battle for the soul of this nation.
And that's the only truth that he has said. Yeah, we are in a battle for the soul of this nation, but not like he's trying to suggest that we are. And he's talking about that for us to win, that somebody got to lose. That's not true. This guy's just winging it. He's just making that up because the bottom line is under Trump, everybody was prospering. Everybody was elevated. People were doing well. People had low gas prices. People had low housing costs. People had low gas and electric. People were excited about spending. People had job security. People had great stock market prices and stuff of that nature. People was looking at their 401k and saying that's great. Their retirement was great. The only problem was all of the divisive language and rhetoric and manipulation coming out of the Democrats so that they could drive a wedge and the country between conservatives and, unfortunately, Democrat voters who weren't hip to the game, and to get them distracted away from all of the benefits that came from a Trump presidency. You know, I mean, like a secure border, like peace in the Middle East, Russia not acting a fool, China not acting a fool, things like that. All of those things that folks couldn't see because of divisive language that this guy right here is now accusing us of. All of the encouragement of violence and folks tearing up stuff and burning down stuff and attacking folks that had MAGA hats on and all of that, that all came from this man who just sat back and gave a speech accusing all of us of that. Therefore, I had to bust out these receipts and bust this whole narrative right in the face like I do, okay? Now, God bless y'all. God bless America. I'm through with this guy, man. I'm through. These Democrats are disgusting. And if YouTube have a problem with my video exposing this and addressing this very divisive, hypocritical, lying speech from Biden, well, you might be on his squad. You might be a part of this whole agenda. If you don't address those lies that was told about all of us conservatives, and you got the nerve to say, well, you know what? This man right here shows some clips about perhaps some election discrepancy, so therefore that video is not legit. And this guy, and this party, I just showed a montage of them doing exactly the same. So what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. Now, God bless y'all. God bless America. Send this off to all your liberal friends who applauded this speech. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care. God bless y'all. God bless America. Don't forget to hit that like button, share my videos, find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those good things. And please check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like their products, please click on the link below this video. Put Kevin in a promo code. You'll get a 20% discount. If you'd like to donate to Kevin's Corner, feel free. The links are below this video. If you want to be a part of my $2 a month club, also feel free to do that. All it entails is you simply dropping $2 a month into one of those links below the video. Or if you want, you can drop a nice big fat lump sum in there to offset the stuff that we know goes on with big tech. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Make sure that you are still subscribed. And finally, set your notification button to all, because YouTube is playing games, y'all. Now, God bless you. God bless America. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner.